Chika, your ultimate gist partner. Please do not forget to share this video, and also try as much as possible to hit the subscription button and also the notification button so that you can be updated with the latest gists. And please, your comments are equally welcome. Of course, there are feedbacks that are important, so that we can see that you are actually growing with us in this channel. I would like us to talk about racism now, more specifically racism in Africa. I've been ruminating over this thought. So, like, can an African be racist? Is it possible for an African to be a racist? Going by the information I have gathered, going by the interactions I have had, I'm afraid yes. And why is that? Why is that so? It's because racism is a human nature, an ugly human nature, by the way. It is a feeling of an innate superiority. And funny enough, that innate superiority is unconsciously or subconsciously born from inferiority complex. It's a disease, actually, and it went on rampage in Europe and in America, centuries back. It gave rise to, the transatlantic slave trade. It also gave rise to colonialism. It also gave rise to eugenics. That is, a study of genetic superiority. It may shock you that brilliant minds like James Watson are proponents of racist theories. He believes that whites, in quotes, that is Caucasians, are much more genetically superior than blacks, based on intelligence. As flawed as that theory is, a lot of people still carry this mentality. Now, coming home to Africa, I said it earlier on that it is possible for Africans to be racist. And not just racist to, other continents, people from other continents, but also racist within themselves. Let me start with us, like that is between Africans. I have seen where somebody from a particular region in Africa, particularly North Africa, I've witnessed where he or she looks down on somebody from East Africa because maybe his skin tone is much fairer, and maybe his nose is a bit more pointed, not as flat as that of an East African person. I have witnessed, remarks, social media, how certain Africans look down on other Africans. And they believe maybe the lighter your skin is, the more appealing, the more superior you are. It's a shameful thing. I do not believe that had been the case, before now. It was due to the, prevailing mindset at the time during the transatlantic slavery that this sickness, this disease cropped up, this disease of racism. I have also, seen people from maybe East Africans looking down on other East Africans, or West Africans looking down on other West Africans. Not necessarily due to the color of their skin, but because of maybe their ethnicity, their ethnic cleavage. And let me make it a statement of fact here that tribalism or ethnicism is a form of racism, because that element of one feeling more superior to the other, one feeling better than the other, is still there. And that is the major underscore of racism. One feeling more superior culturally, more superior genetically, more superior in one way or the other than others. It is a symptom. Ethnicism is a symptom of the larger racism. So Can Africans be racist? Yes, yes. It's a shame, though. It may not be as prevalent as we see in other parts of the world. It may not be as prevalent, but it's there. It's there. I've seen, people from a particular group, African group. It may not necessarily be from North Africa. I've seen somebody from, Southern Africa looking down on somebody from maybe Central Africa. Oh, these people, they are too short, they are dwarfs, they are pygmies, they are below us, things like that. I have heard and I have read, things like that. It's terrible. It's terrible, actually. But like I said, it is not prevalent. It's not something that is a general malaise. It's just within some individuals, and I'm sure they imported that thinking, that mentality from what the Europeans did to Black Africa. And so yes, it is possible for Africans to be racist, not only to themselves but also to other cultures, to other races. There was a time when at some point I almost fell into this trap of being racist towards even the whites. That is, towards the Caucasians. I felt that, look, I am much more athletically superior to the whites. I believe that being an African, we are much more genetically diverse. It is a statement of fact. It is a proven scientific fact that we are much more genetically diverse, which means we have more chances of survival than the Caucasians and other races, as it were. And so that lends to my thought at that time that then it means if we can survive more, if we have that propensity to survive, to adapt, it means our genes are much more resilient, thereby meaning our genes are much more superior. I had that thought, and that thought was grooming within me, but of course I had to check myself, because on the long run I discovered that I was overblowing it. There are people who, in Africa, who are much more fragile genetically. I discovered that it's not a black and white thing, despite the fact that Africans generally, we are much more genetically diverse than other races. I learned that, and I cautioned myself. So if I can have that thought, how much more those who have had access to this kind of information, and somehow I believed that being that other races came from us, I mean, the whites, the Caucasians, the Mongolians, and what have you, their genes in terms of maybe their color is recessive. Ours is dominant. So, and of course, what I stated to you is a scientific fact. So, with that, I also had that thinking. And when I started listening to people, like what's his name? There is this man who is an advocate of black glory, black pride, black superiority. I'm trying to, remember his name. Minister Louis Farrakhan. Yes, I've watched some of his, videos, and he's speaking from, he's actually saying it, from the heart of love. I want to believe that. But if care is not taken, there is that tendency for one to begin to look or sound racist with it. And at some point in time, he has been accused of such. He has been accused of promoting black supremacy. So the point is this: blacks are capable of being racist. They are. Towards even other races. When I see somebody who is white, I see him as somebody who is, okay, you are clever, but you can't survive in very harsh conditions. Thank God, to some extent, that there is that racial equality drive going on now. Everybody is promoting racial equality. If not, you can imagine what will happen to humanity. So, blacks are capable of racism, and by extension, Africans. A North African is an African. His skin may not be as dark as that of a West African, but he's still an African. I'm not referring to Arabs in Africa. I'm referring to the Tuaregs. I'm referring to the Berbers. I'm referring to those who are indigenous Africans but have a lighter skin tone. You know, they have the tendency to be racist. But it's just that racism is not prevalent in Africa. It's not really an issue in Africa, so it's more of an isolated thing, thankfully so. The bottom line of everything is, let us watch, our thoughts and our ideologies. We can be proud of where we come from. We can project, the positivities of our ethnicities, the positivities of Africa. But let us not fall into the traps that the Caucasians did. When they were buying slaves, from Africa, they felt, being that you're a slave, I am above you. It gave them the time to discover the world, to discover the elements, to discover other things, while the blacks were busy doing the house cleaning, and what have you. Mind you, Africans had their own civilization. We have your civilization. We have the Edo, the Benin Kingdom, the civilization. We have some of the, grand civilizations of the past. We have the Nok civilization, in Africa. We have the Kanem-Borno Empire. We had, the Kush civilization. We had, but of course you don't get to see these things on mainstream media. Everyone will want to project his or her own, racial positivity, like the Caucasians. But every continent had their civilizations, particularly the African continent. We had our civilizations, though we have not projected it in the media. We have done little to promote it because we are still trying to deal with issues of, economic difficulties, the issue of political instability. Of course, this came as a sort of, years of colonialism and, economic back and forths. And so, but we are still dealing with that, and we are believing that we will definitely overcome these demons, that are trying to pin Africa down. All in all, there are whites, there are Caucasians who are not racist, and there are blacks that are racist. There are blacks, there are Africans who are racist to other Africans. I put it to you. So let us be watchful, and let us not think of racist only as a white affair. Maybe the whites are only the ones that are guilty of it. Africans can be guilty of racism, but it may not be on a collective note. But there are certain Africans who have displayed, levels of racism towards other Africans. If you dig deep into this issue and you make your findings and you investigate, you discover it as well. But the bottom line of it all is we are one family, and we should remain one family. I don't even believe in this. Personally, I don't think that races should be differed, like, oh, you are Mongolian, you are Caucasian, you are African. The word Africa is not even the original name of the African continent. That's a story for another day. I just believe that we are one race with, varying skin tones. That is what I believe. The color of our blood is red, and our facial, our phenotypical differences is just based on geographical location, over time, whereby our genes have mutated, but it still doesn't take away the fact that all life, all, races in quotes, emanated from the African continent. So I believe that brings us to the end of this talk, and please feel free to share your comments and your feedbacks, and then so we can grow and then we can move forward. Remember, say no to racism, say no to tribalism, say no to ethnicism, say no to any form of, superiority complex or, discrimination based on skin color, based on height, based on, whatever, as the case may be. I remain yours truly, Chika, and thank you for being with me.